Oh, I hope the lighting's okay. Yeah. 50% rule time. I have a lot to catch up on. Yeah. That's why I partially joined a game jam, so that I could do some drawing for the sake of drawing. And when I think of that, I think, what is it that I like to see that makes me happy? Then I try to draw it, and when I mess it up, I can always go and take some of the study time that I do at Drawabox or something, and I put it into looking up images of what I tried to draw and failed at. Or maybe also see. Right now, I think I just need a background of scenes. So mountains are something I think I can do. They're pretty simple, straightforward. A triangle. Before I do that, I might as well think about where all the edges would go. So we'll have a front-facing mountain here, and we'll have the other mountains facing away from it. And then we'll just do it in two-point perspective like this, I think. So, something like this would look pretty good in my opinion. Really doesn't matter too much. Hope my head's not blocking the view. No, it looks like it's okay. And I'm just gonna talk and record this. I really like telling stories, and I want to make the stories told as well as I think they deserve to be told. So I'll take my time to get the rough outline done. I don't really care too much if I make mistakes here. It will be alright. And we'll have another one receding into the background. Maybe, should I do it down here? Oh, yeah, actually, let's make it like this instead. That'll be better, in my opinion. I want to see what it looks like. That's a lot of everything I've ever done. It's always been, what would it look like? And I never know until I try. Doesn't matter if no one sees it. The fact that you tried to tell a story and it was told is what matters to me, right? Or maybe I'm just being silly. Have my head in the clouds. I'll give this one a nice little pathway. And as this is receding towards it and getting closer to, this is far away, so it won't matter too much. I want it to get bigger. Oh well, it'll be okay. And like that, that sets up a precedence of how everything else is going to go. So this one should be about here and smaller. Just another little mountain, just cause. Why not? The biggest thing I need to make sure to do for mountains is, since I started with this side here, I can't just go and show the other side on this mountain, because if I drew one right there, it would look weird because it just doesn't fit the rest of the place. You're already facing this mountain, so unless, I'm sorry, it's kind of hard to explain, but let's try another mountain, or maybe something else. Maybe I'll try a mountain right here, and I'll leave this for a little valley. That sounds cool. I want to try it. I've got a bit of congestion in my nose, pollen, stuff like that. So since these ones are shrinking farther away from the viewer, I thought it would be getting smaller as this side is closer to showing. I technically made a mistake over here because more of this side should be showing instead, and this should be like that. But, you know, common mistakes can happen. And that's okay, because without any mistakes, you would never know what direction you need to grow. And that leaves room for a little river right here that I think I can do. So I will actually put a little meadow, kind of like that, then have a river. Maybe just a bit of curve to add the emphasis that something is flowing. Just because I like it. Never be too afraid to try new things. And technically this one would have to be somewhere like this if we're going to follow the 2-point perspective, unless your points wouldn't be in the same spot. You could have 2-point perspective like this or any other way, really. There's no wrong answer, really. Because when you're drawing something, you don't have to draw what exists. We could go crazy with something. Maybe I will for the next one, but right now I just want to do a little mountain. So this one's farther away, so even though it's closer and it would have a bigger spot, I would say it would have about the same size. So we'd draw the center and then draw about the same size edge, sort of. And once again, mountains are very forgiving because technically this still looks pretty good, right? Because mountains are not geometric shapes that are always following the same rules as anything else. We could actually make it so that the water is coming down like this. From the other side of this big canyon here. How would that look? Could I make a little bit of a hole? I would have a little opening right here. Inside would be water. Following the rule of perspective, because we have this side showing, we need to show most of this side. Just really, if you want to do basic perspective, you just need to make one main focal point. 1 or 2 main focal points, and then you just follow the idea of how it worked. So I put down these 3 mountains, and then anything in between would just be in between the types of other stuff. You don't have to go in depth on how to do your stuff. You just need enough perspective to do what you want to do. I actually want to change this a little bit. I want to make a bit of a waterfall here. And that would make a little bit of mist, right? Mist is kind of like clouds, so you just do half circles. Takes some getting used to do good mist, though. Maybe a little bit of flow in there, or you just make a bunch of noise and it looks horrible, blah, or something like that. But something I like to do is layer them. Technically you can't really do layering easily in traditional art, but that's not entirely true. It really depends on if you have transparent paper or a good background, or a light table. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. Jumbling my words. I do not have a good light table, as you can see. However, actually I should double check to see how that's coming on the camera. Oh, it comes through. Oh, thank God. I don't have transparent paper with me. I wish I did. It's fine though. I don't really care if anyone sees this. I just wanted to post something. And then I just kind of think about how they would interact with each other. One's close and one's far away. I could put it over here. I could put it over here. I could mess around with other stuff. I could draw a couple more trees. Let's try that. Maybe I'll highlight stuff, although I'm never any good at color since I never practice. I just like drawing. Line work, I just want to get my ideas across pretty much. That's why I started drawing in the first place. I wanted to tell a story. So since I have this scene in 2D perspective, I can once again use the mountain to draw a hill, or a house on a hill. Or I'll pick up a bad pen and not draw anything at all. Yeah, kind of laugh maniacally when I'm drawing. Like I'm getting, it's kind of funny actually. So I'll just draw a little cube to start out. A little shack. Since this is only 2-point, the heights can be kind of straight. They don't need to be perfect, but you can make them look pretty good. Since this one's kind of pointing, the other one will have to meet at it, because if you're pointing away, you'll make the house look lopsided. And since this side isn't exactly the same width, see how this one's an inch about, and this one would be a little less than an inch, though it's less size, or less space in between where they would meet. So you'd need to actually make this one converge closer and this one converge less close if you were really trying to go for good perspective. See, I just messed it up, but that's okay. And I do like to draw through my boxes, even if it makes it look less pretty. And now, let's think about this. Now that we have a basic box, what else do we need for a house? Well, they have roofs usually, or maybe this won't be just a house. Maybe this will be a little different. I still would like maybe a couple of additional boxes. Give it a flat roof of sorts. So I'll just maybe add a little bit of a chimney. Add a little bit of texture to the chimney. I don't need to put all the bricks for a tiny little chimney like this. I just need to put enough bricks so that people understand that it's bricks, right? At least that's the impression I'm under. And where it's darker, such as the side that wouldn't be facing the sun, but since I'm not really doing light, I don't have to worry about that. If I wanted one side to look darker, I would simply add more bricks to one side. This is how you would do it without just using cross-hatching. Because if you want to convey a story or tell someone something, visual communication is going to be communicated better by showing what it is that you're drawing instead of just doing a couple of lines, right? But unless you're trying to communicate shadow, there's nothing wrong with cross-hatching. It's easy. So now we have a roof stack. So what else we would need is I want to try to overhang it a little bit. So I take this line, and I take that line, and I go up a little bit. Then I follow the line. Then I take this line, go out. But since this side is farther away, I would actually just stop right there. And I'd go over here and stop right there. And bricks in the way. Now we have a little roof stack. In a roof stack, since I'm in construction, I know about this. There are usually eaves and little vents that go with them when they're flat roofs, because I work in commercial buildings sometimes, so I know that. Then we also like add a little bit of maybe, I don't know, we need a door, right? We could put the door on the other side, but I'd rather just add it here. I do like a little nice SpongeBob door, you know, just a little round thing. Maybe a window? And I remember to follow the lines I've already put down as my guide. Maybe I'll add a little bit of depth by adding a side, the sides that would show, which in this case would simply be a smaller version of the other sides of the cube. Then I'll add a little window pane. This side will have a double-decker window. Since now it's on this side, we just drew that side, now we need to draw the other two sides, right? So we'll do that. We need to follow the same type of way we drew on the other sides, just on a smaller scale, if we want it to look the same. This is the best way to make something look cohesive, right? At least from what I've learned so far. I haven't been doing this that long. Just about 2 years now. I think I've come pretty far. That doesn't look like a window at all. Oh well. Does it really matter? Maybe. But to me, it doesn't exactly look like it goes on the hill. If I had put it behind the hill, it wouldn't matter, but now that I think about it, this side would be a little bit too tall. So to fix that, we would need it to follow the same curvature of the hill. So let's think about how the hill curves. So now that we know how the hill curves, we could bring some stabilizers down to make sure the house can sit flat. Since this side would be about correct, we just need a stabilizer about here maybe. See a cross action. Beautiful. Don't have to draw a texture because I don't know what a stabilizer looks like, and I don't really want to look it up right now because I'm lazy. And it kind of looks like lattice, actually. You know, the little stuff you have under your house to keep critters out and make sure no one like gets into your stuff. And I realized that I actually like lattice at the side of the house, so I'm going to actually do a bit of cross hatching. Now I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually do this side correct when it comes to lattice, because lattice has two sticks, one stick under, one stick over. So I just follow that rule. And I'm not trying to be super accurate here. I'm drawing a little too small to be super accurate. If something's smaller than your hand, you're going to struggle to draw it, even if you draw from your wrist instead of your arm. And I do like the house, actually. It's coming together pretty okay. It's a little too square for me, actually. I feel like a house this far in the middle of nowhere would actually be more fluid, more round, because there's no reason to have it in a grid. But, it's just me. I want to draw a couple more trees. Maybe someone has some bushes on the back side, so you would have a bush here maybe, but you wouldn't see too much of the bush. So if I wanted to figure out how the bush would line up against the wall, I would do another line there. And I would think about this would need to follow towards the mountain, and this one would go towards the other mountain. Then we bring down the other infinite vanishing point, since this is only 2 point. We make sure the other ones kind of follow along, sort of. And now we can use that box to maybe add a little. I like boxes because it's a simplification of the sides you'll see. You can really only get 3 sides on a box, and that's usually the 3 sides you need. So now I can draw my bush without having to worry about it looking weird, as long as I draw it inside the box. And I could draw through, which I think I will. And if I follow along the line, I could draw a couple more bushes. Like that. Oh, this one's not on the ground. Oh no. Ah! Actually, now we're going to add stems. Oh my god, look! The bush is going to the ground! They're now little trees. Because I did that a little wrong. Anyways, it's fine. I like drawing with pen because it makes me think. When I make a mistake, I think about how I can make this look okay. And that allows me to draw things that I wouldn't have even thought about because I wasn't intending to draw it in the first place. Mistakes are just an opportunity to make something new. Let's see, what else can I draw? What else do I want? Maybe I want a couple of clouds. So let's go back to this layer and make the back clouds first. Because I think the back is easier, but honestly it really depends. And honestly, if you put a little bit of practice into it, anything is kind of easy. So when you think of a cloud, you think it kind of looks poofy, but how would you actually make a cloud look right? Well, that's hard to do, especially with pen, since you can't shade it in, and that's kind of what a cloud is. It's just a bunch of very, very small circle spheres of different values of white. But we could just capture those circles, right? So in this case, I don't want to draw full circles because then it's going to break apart and not look like a whole shape. At most, I want to do three-quarter circles. And any of the circles I want to look like they're in front, like I'll draw another circle, and I want this one to look like it's in front of this one. And I want one that's behind this one and this one. So I'll do it like this. And I want them to meet up here, with this one to be a connecting circle. And I want the bottom to kind of just be pretty simple and easy. And as you may have noticed, I didn't make sure it was connected to the perspective too much. I'm not too worried about it. And now I can think about how this one is kind of in front. Maybe this side will be behind a bit, and I'll do more on this side, completely separating this side actually, so this side's back. Then I'll have this one connected, and I'll have this. No, that doesn't look right. Oh well. The amazing part about having a big piece of paper is look at all this room to try again. So this one I want to actually follow the mountains. So if I wanted them to follow the mountains and I was going to draw it here, I would need a perspective grid. Actually, let me not ruin the piece. I have a light table, I might as well use another piece to do this on, right? We got the paper right here, and I'm going to draw the next cloud about here. It doesn't have to be perfect. And this side is going like that, sort of. Since I made these perspective grids so far away, or the perspective points, what are they called? Vanishing points. Vanishing points. Since they're so far away, it won't matter as much to have it slightly off. If you're hitting perfect lines that far away, eyeballing it, you're a better perspective artist than me, that's for sure. And we just kind of make them head in the same general direction. Make sure that they're going to converge. Eventually. Make sure they're going to converge eventually, but wherever the other ones would converge at. And since we know where the other ones would converge at, oh no. And since we know where the other ones would converge at, we will totally and for certainly not drop all your paper on the floor while trying to desperately fix your mistake that you're not going to edit out of your video that you're making. So let's try that again here. So we know that this is the perspective grid, and this is where it is. And the points will go like this. And now if I wanted to draw another cloud, I wanted to put it here, I would make sure that it's going towards the same line. So let's draw it over here. I think that'll be easier. just a little bit. They need to converge eventually. It's probably about there. Straight line, because it's only 2 point. Make sure that one's also going to converge with its own vanishing point, but not too close. Making sure all the lines hit up is... This is what I'm talking about. If you're trying to draw something in perspective and you want to draw everything in perspective, it gets a little harder, as you can tell. Probably. I hope. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just bad at this. With enough practice, you can really get good at anything. Oh no. Ignore that. That's fine. Everything's fine. There's nothing wrong. Just 8 boxes, apparently. You probably should plan out where you're going a little bit more than what I'm doing as well, if you really want to make something look nice. But I'm not supposed to be studying right now. It's a 50% rule. I just wanted to make a nice box to know where I'm going to put my cloud. And now, with the handy dandy power of light, you could also hold it up to the sky or a light in your room and have the same effect. I'm using newsprint, so it has probably a different texture. But if you were to use basic printing paper, something like, I don't know, this, you'd have the same effect. You'd have someone's face and you go, yeah, yeah, yeah. And you would have a circle. Yeah. And you put them together. This is how Disney and other media companies used to do animation before large-scale software like Blender or other things showed up. I think we've lost a bit of creativity when we switched over, to be honest. Especially since the best way to still learn it is definitely with traditional, in my opinion. I've come a long way over the years, I think. I hope. We'll find out. So starting with this one, I want to try to make one cloud that's right up against the edge. And I want to try another cloud right up against the other edge. This cloud over here won't matter so much because it's going to be farther away. In fact, only like, I'd say, this much of it would show. On the bottom, we would have the same type of fluffiness. And at the top, since apparently these are a lot higher than I thought they were, so you wouldn't be looking at it like this if you follow the perspective grid, you would actually be seeing a lot of the side and almost none of the top. Sorry, thinking. And if I wanted to make this look way more perspective, I would break up the cloud with more pieces that would have their own overlay, sort of. Is that the right word? Probably not. And I'll do one more, just for good measure. We're going to make this one a little smaller, actually, since it's getting a bit farther away. This is extreme foreshortening for the rest of the page. If you're looking for consistency, you have to look at how much you're making other things shrink away as they get farther away. A lot of thinking to do, right? But then you can think about what parts are in front. These parts will be in front because they are closest to the corner, closest to you. This one is coming towards you because it's where all the vanishing points are flying away from each other. This one kind of looks like that, but the difference is, unlike this one, which is having the vanishing points go away from it, it's having the vanishing points go towards it and through it. So if you're trying to draw boxes and you're struggling with vanishing points, that's why. This side will always be the side in the front, so this one will take precedence over all others. And this side will take precedence over this one. And this side will take precedence over any tops, bottoms. And let's see how that looks. I don't completely hate it. It's definitely a cloud. Oh. Ah, I lost my other thing in my stack of paper. No! Where's my house? No! I lost my house. Oh no. Where is it? Ah, found it. Alright, cool. Just completely rumpling through paper. Got my phone on the ceiling pretty much. I just hear this madman talking about how he loves to draw mountains and stuff. Now the thing you would do to make sure you don't have overlays like this, and you see how it gets drawn through 3D, is you would just have the front layer in the bag while you drew on the top layer. Problem is I have a weak light under this, so I can't do 3 layers and still see everything easily. So if you are interested in that, just know that if you layer it more than like 3 pieces, you're going to have a lot of struggling when it comes to that. So now we can see what parts would be in front and what parts of the mountain we would draw. But since I can just lift the mountain up higher, which is going to completely destroy the perspective grid, by the way, but I can do pretty easily. I can make it right there. Pretty good, huh? And just so I don't forget that's where I want it, I'll draw a couple of the lines for the background just there. Actually, why don't we make it so the thing goes off the grid and comes back right here and then flows off the page completely. I like that a lot. It's too big here. Doesn't follow the perspective grid. I don't care. I should have made it go like that and then be off completely on that side and then just have done it and it would have looked better. But you know, it's pen and I can always find a thing or a way to make it look alright now. Let's think about how we can solve the solution I've made and self-inflicted on myself. I don't know. Why not? See where this line takes us. To another waterfall. Cave in which the stream flows out. To a pond. I don't know if that can be seen. Let me double check. That's probably off screen. Oh my gosh. Yep. It sure is. That sucks. Up we go. Go. We'll make a little hole in the ground. And one way I like to make it look like water is to have something falling into it. And then have big ripples and smaller ripples alternating. Of course, you would probably follow the perspective line if you were doing this, which I didn't do, because this is looking more down. Now it looks top down, but we have this over here that's the side. So actually I would do something like this. Yeah, they look the same to me. Guess that's something I need to look into. Oh well. Doesn't matter too much, does it? Enough of this. I don't know what I'm doing with water. I've never studied water. Let's go do something else. And now I can follow my perspective line right there, and right there to keep it where I need it to be. Let's think. What else could I add? A tree. Another tree. This one I draw on camera, and then all my skill will disappear. So really, for trees and organic things, you can structure it out first. You wouldn't have a finished thing like that unless you like drew it on a layer behind it, whether it be traditional or digital, and then drew the thing on top, which I guess you could do. Since on this one, we don't need to worry too much about this page, and we could layer it like this. You get transparent paper, like I said before. So that's the water, and I want the tree to go on this hill. So let's draw a little layer. And little trunks on all the sides that would be showing. Then we draw little circles to emphasize where it's turning at. I would love to explain this one a little bit better, but I don't entirely have a good grasp of this yet. So I probably will draw an actual tutorial on that if I ever get to that level. Alrighty, this one's looking like it might be a little bit too looking up at the tree instead of looking at its side, because I made this one and this one too big. But that's okay. And then we want to have a couple of branches coming off of it. Maybe like this. We'll have one on the other side that you can't see, like this. Then we'll branch off this top one like this into smaller pieces. Doo-ba-doo, 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 doo, uh-oh, doo-ba-doo, 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 doo-ba-doo. And you want to layer up on trees, because usually the tree roots that are on overground would just start to meet up as they get closer to the trunk. At least this type of tree does. And now we have a good idea of the trunk. So let me go over here and draw it real quick. where do I want it? I want it right here. Yeah, that looks good. Now, I'm not perfectly replicating this. I never intended to. It was just an idea, and I can convey the same idea a little differently. Make sure to keep my strokes as confident as I can. Some parts I like, so I want to try to recreate them. Something I really like about these trees is when you have little over gaps right here, like that. I like that because it shows, to me it shows, at least I like it. Simulate a bit of the bark and some lines. If I wanted to draw texture, I would look up some bark images and I would think about how each of the parts of the bark would cast shadow onto the other pieces and try to emulate the basic shapes of bark. But I don't want to do that right now, so that's fine. And voila, we have a bit of the base of a tree. Easily done with 2 pieces of paper. We'll go back to our construction and we'll think about how we're going to add leaves, which is ironically very, very similar to how I added clouds. Sorry, brain fart. So I want to start with what I think will be in front. This one is in front, this one's pushing back away from this one, and this one will be in the middle. So let's draw the front one first. Actually, it doesn't matter now that I think about it because this isn't what's getting shown. So I'll just draw the front one first anyways. I like to add a little bit of fluff to it. See how I like it. And this one will be behind it, so you wouldn't show this, but I'm going to draw through it just so you would see what I mean. This one's in front, then this one would be in the back, so you wouldn't show this on that. Now we go back. I like doing it this way. This is kind of fun. Oh look, and I could do like double, like that maybe. I like that. Then we have another layer right there. Then we'll do a little bit of that. Inside the leaves, there would be all sorts of other things going on, and I'm not going to look up images of leaves to show what those are, because I'm just building a little scene. Doesn't really matter too much to me, and so I'm just going to do it the way I want, and that's this way, I guess. Hiding where the branch is going to the tree with a little squiggle helps out a lot. A couple of little wiggles here and there, and it can really convey a sense of what's happening. This one's in the back, so this would go back there and you would see it only there and here. We'll add another little layer right here, a little layer right here. That's getting thinner and thinner as it goes towards the center of the tree. And now we have a basic tree. At least the way I like to draw trees. And since you can see the difference of what happens when you draw with construction, huh? This is when I drew without any of the construction, and you can see how that turned out. Of course, this branch is a bit bigger than I want it to be, especially up here, but that's fine. Just wanted to draw a little. Oh, actually, look at that. I accidentally put it in the water a little bit. Let's think about how that would go in. So it would dip right there. It would actually go back into the ground under it. But where's the ground? Let's think about where the ground would be. So if we go back to trying to think about how the mass of the tree is sitting on this, so it would be more like this. And you would have something like that, maybe. Now that we know that, we would just follow the same trajectory into the water. Now we just add a bit of rock and rubble to simulate tree branches. Squiggle, 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 squiggle. And a good way to draw water is to not draw it. Now I know that sounds silly, but it's true. What you do is you draw highlights in the water of where the water is reflecting, and then you draw the bottom of the water. Of course, it's hard to convey without color, and I've never done it before, so you know, maybe this won't work. But I think it would look pretty cool to have. And I won't do it any farther over here, and I'll have these ones blurred a bit because this is where mist is being made, and I don't want to break the mist illusion that sort of desperately is there, or at least I hope it is. And then we have a couple more rocks, maybe a bit of grass running at the bottom. Two lines like that is pretty good to draw grass, but really you could also draw grass with a construction line pretty easily as well. If you made it to plans in the free Drawabox course, you will, that is lesson 3 I think, you will have already learned that you would be drawing 1 and starting at your base point. Oh, that's a little small. Maybe I'll draw it big for you guys. So you draw a single point, the flow of the leaf, or grass, and it bends. In this case, you could also draw grass. Problem with this is it's very time consuming, so doing it for a bunch of pieces of grass really adds up. This is a bad example, but you know, sorry guys. Yeah. Hey, do you know what? Now I look at it, it actually kind of does look like water still. So let's add a couple of more highlights to show that this is underwater. And not a gravel path. I like it. It isn't some of those super professional drawing things, but it's what I drew. And that's what matters to me. I was able to draw something that I wanted to draw. Let's see here what it looks like. The sun isn't shining directly into my eyes. I do like the fact that it kind of just lowers the transparency on its own. Meaning each layer you added would fade into the background more and more as you put more layers on it. Yep. Alright. Let's figure out how to turn this off. Thank you for watching.